The endless dark of the universe is yours, if you but reach out to take it. Yield nothing, the void respects only strength. Seren Travius, rogue trader. During the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, rogue traders, originally referred to as rogue traders militant, were honoured with the esteemed title of Lord Captain, a designation conferred by the Emperor himself. These remarkable and highly influential individuals serve as a unique blend of independent explorers, conquerors, and interstellar merchants on behalf of the Imperium of Man. Each rogue trader holds a hereditary role as a servant of the Imperium, their status as high-ranking nobles solidified by their possession of a starship, a loyal crew, and in exceedingly rare cases, an elite force of space marines, astra militarum soldiers, or mercenaries. They possess the unparalleled privilege of venturing into uncharted or ungoverned regions of the galaxy. As they navigate these unclaimed sectors, rogue traders often uncover worlds populated by ancient human civilizations, lost to the Imperium for millennia. These civilizations are subsequently assimilated into the Imperium, facilitated by the Adeptus Mechanicus Explorator fleets, the Navis Imperialis and the Astra Militarum. Alternatively, they may encounter barren or alien-occupied planets ripe for colonization, conquest, or exploitation, opportunities eagerly seized by both the Imperium and the rogue trader. Armed with a sacred warrant of trade, which grants them authority to explore, trade, and wage war beyond the Imperium's known borders in the name of the God Emperor, rogue traders are a rare breed within the grim darkness of the galaxy. Some are newly minted powers rising to prominence, while others belong to ancient noble dynasties of seasoned voidfarers. Regardless of their lineage, all rogue traders carry their titles with pride, boldly journeying into the unknown in pursuit of fortune, power, and renown. The vastness of space is theirs to command, for as far as their military might and cunning can sustain their influence. A rogue trader must don many mantles: diplomat in negotiations with planetary rulers, clandestine operator in the shadowy underworlds of void stations, general commanding an armed host of plunderers, or captain at the helm of a majestic starship. Yet, above all else, they are the embodiment of freedom. Rogue traders frequently descend from dynasties of illustrious military leaders and visionary pioneers, their bloodlines extending back across the millennia. However, they may also rise from younger, more dynamic families, having ascended the ranks of the Adeptus Terra, the Imperial Navy, or the Astra Militarum. No matter their origin, rogue traders are, above all, architects of their own destiny, a rare and precious status within the rigid hierarchy of the 41st millennium. Though the weight of their responsibility is immense, a rogue trader is never truly alone. They are always surrounded by a trusted cadre of allies and retainers, for no single individual can master every aspect of exploration, commerce, conquest, and war. The most successful rogue traders are those who understand the true worth of others and skillfully harness every available resource and talent within the Imperium's vast arsenal. While a rogue trader relies on the expertise of specialists to ensure success in their ventures, it is their judgment that directs the course of action. They may not personally steer their voidship or man the macro cannons, yet it is their command that drives those who do. Likewise, though they may lack the intricate knowledge of arcane mechanicus technologies, it falls to them to trust the explorator's assurances when deciding whether a newly discovered world's atmosphere is safe to breathe. Thus, their leadership, both decisive and visionary, ultimately determines the fate of their grand ventures. Rogue traders must perpetually rely on their own prowess and protection, no matter the strength of their allies, for they are surrounded by envy and an unending stream of rivals. Consequently, most have a marked inclination to secure the finest personal armaments and equipment that their wealth can afford, as even trusted companions can turn adversary when the prize is as valuable as a world's ransom. Some rogue traders refuse to leave their command bridge without being clad in a venerable and ancient suit of artificer armor, refashioned for the more fragile frame of a mere mortal. Others discreetly don personal force field generators of alien origin, concealed beneath their ostentatious attire. Regardless of the circumstances, none travel unarmed, always carrying with them even aboard their own vessels, deadly devices such as minute digital weapons and other instruments of destruction. Regardless of their outward appearance, every rogue trader must be imbued with supreme confidence in their abilities, possessing the cunning to emerge from even the most perilous circumstances, having somehow profited, even if that profit amounts to nothing more than their survival. The roots of the rogue traders extend back to the dawn of the Great Crusade in the late 30th millennium. Under the Emperor's grand vision, the initial fleets of the Crusade expanded outwards into the vast unknown reaches of the galaxy. Before the immense expeditionary fleets, often numbering in the hundreds or even thousands of ships, smaller groups of independent flotillas led by martial figures known as rogue traders militant advanced ahead. Many of these leaders had once ruled domains that the Emperor had conquered during the unification wars on Terra. As the Great Crusade progressed, rulers of once independent human colonies also found themselves in this role. These leaders faced an unyielding choice: submit to the Emperor and swear service to the Great Crusade, or face annihilation by his hand. While some chose the path of pride and defiance, refusing what they saw as a life of servitude, others accepted the Emperor's warrant of trade, though not without cost. In return for their service, rogue traders militant were entrusted with scouting far ahead of the Great Crusade's main forces, accompanied by their own armies and whatever assets the Emperor granted them. Operating at the very edges of the Emperor's vast war machine, rogue traders militant could expect little to no support should they encounter foes too powerful to defeat. After decades traversing the dark expanse of the void, their fleets often took on a ragged appearance, with many of their vessels seized from conquered enemies, sometimes incorporating Xenos ships of rare and exotic design. Forbidden from returning to Terra, the Emperor, in his wisdom, sought not only to eliminate potential threats to his reign, but also to ensure that even in death, these former rulers would serve the cause of mankind. Many vanished, their ends uncelebrated and unknown, slain, consumed or enslaved by nameless alien horrors far from the reach of Terra's light. The Imperium of Man spans nearly the entire galaxy, a vast domain encroaching upon the densely populated regions of alien-occupied space. Despite ruling over 1 million worlds inhabited by humans, the Imperium's territory encompasses but a fraction of the galaxy. Beyond its reach lie the distant fringes and halo zones, remote areas where the light of the Astronomicon cannot penetrate. These dark regions are home to renegades or settlers whose ancestors were forgotten by the Emperor's servants millennia ago. Much of the Milky Way galaxy remains an uncharted, mysterious and perilous place, even in the 41st millennium. The need to explore uncharted worlds, encounter alien civilizations, and acquire unimaginable resources led to the establishment of autonomous imperial agents known as rogue traders. Licensed by the Adeptus Terra and often provisioned with substantial resources, these individuals are granted the freedom to traverse the galaxy's remote regions, including those lying beyond the Astronomicon's light and areas untouched by humanity. Some rogue traders have even dared to venture into the starless voids between galaxies, though the outcome of such daring missions remains unknown due to the limitations of astropathic communication over such vast distances. Free from the direct oversight of the Imperium's central authority, rogue traders are entrusted with the responsibility of determining how to engage with alien cultures, handle new discoveries, and confront emerging threats. They may choose to eradicate a dangerous Xenos species or gather intelligence for the Imperium to later deal with the threat. Should they find a Xenos race potentially beneficial to humanity, they might broker diplomatic and economic agreements. Planets abundant in valuable technology or precious minerals may be plundered, allowing the rogue trader to return to Terra, or their homeworld laden with alien treasures, rare ores, and advanced technological marvels. To carry out their missions, rogue traders require vast resources, including voidcraft, personnel, and forces. They may command a fleet of vessels, often large cargo ships carrying a small army supported by skilled technicians and volunteer settlers, ready to establish colonies on newly discovered worlds. Essential to their success are the combat forces they bring, prepared to confront any threats encountered in the far reaches of the galaxy. Many rogue traders hail from prominent positions within the Imperium's governing hierarchy, often drawn from the Adeptus Terra, Navis Imperialis, Astra Militarum, or the Inquisition. Some are powerful civilians, with navigators being the most renowned among them. In some cases, political necessity drives individuals into the role of rogue trader, as their freedom from imperial command conveniently distances them from the heart of the Emperor's power. This has led to rogue traders developing a reputation as outcasts, viewed by the high-ranking officials of the Adeptus Terra as individuals best kept at arm's length from Terra. Operating far beyond the Imperium's control, rogue traders live by their own laws. Some are devout servants of the God Emperor, spreading his light to the galaxy's farthest corners, while others are little more than licensed pirates and opportunists. Many rogue traders are known for their magnetic personalities and bold confidence, possessing a roguish charm. They are adept diplomats, some would say con artists, and can transform into ruthless killers when the situation demands. Rogue traders often assemble a motley retinue comprising alien warriors, mutants, and other outcasts, considered unworthy by conventional imperial society. Many Puritan inquisitors would denounce such rogue traders as heretics. These individuals tend to have volatile personalities, with some capable of destroying entire worlds on a whim or conducting horrific experiments on alien species out of a twisted curiosity. Nonetheless, all rogue traders are exceptional beings, driven by ambitions that surpass the ordinary dreams of the Imperium's citizens, though their methods may be extreme. While some may obliterate entire worlds for trivial reasons, others violate Imperial doctrine by including aliens and mutants among their ranks. Rogue traders are often flamboyant, adorned in the most extravagant attire they can acquire. However, no two are alike, each shaped by their distinct origins. Newly appointed rogue traders may emerge from the Astra Militarum, Navis Imperialis, merchant fleets, Administratum, or even the Imperial Inquisition, each bringing a unique skill set and approach to the challenges they face. Some are relatively poor, commanding only a single ancient and dilapidated starship, while others are extraordinarily wealthy and powerful, leading vast fleets of warships and private armies in their ventures across the stars. Certain privileged individuals among rogue traders might even call upon detachments of space marines, having forged mutually advantageous pacts with individual chapters. Others take on mercenary roles, offering their ships and services to the highest bidder, whether that be pirates, fellow rogue traders, or imperial institutions like the Adeptus Mechanicus, Astra Militarum, or the Inquisition. In the aftermath of the Great Rift's formation, nearly 100 rogue traders were summoned to Macragge for an urgent symposium. This call, bearing the seal of Guilliman, the resurrected Primarch of the Ultramarines and Lord Commander of the Imperium, was an honor that none within the Imperium would dare refuse. The gathering would mark the beginning of a dangerous and far-reaching endeavor. It had been thousands of Terran years since so many rogue traders had congregated in one place, with even small gatherings of a few being a rare occurrence. By the time they arrived at Macragge, many of these rogue traders had already deduced the reason behind the summons, as Ultramar had been ravaged by war. The once impenetrable domain of the Ultramarines, fortified by unrivaled infrastructure and layered defences, had been breached and severely damaged by the demon Primarch Mortarion and his Death Guard during the Plague Wars. Though Guilliman had returned following the initial phase of the Indomitus Crusade, securing the Imperium Sanctus and orchestrating a brilliant defence of his realm, the damage inflicted would take decades, if not centuries, to mend. When Guilliman entered the assembly halls, many rogue traders knelt in respect, but he quickly bid them rise, addressing them as equals, a reflection of his unique leadership style. Guilliman declared that the Imperium was not merely facing invasion, but was engaged in a struggle for its very soul. The realm of Ultramar had been afflicted by plagues of supernatural origin, spreading with terrifying speed. Before Chaos forces were driven back to the Scourge stars, a cluster of 3 imperial systems, many moons and worlds under Guilliman's protection had been devastated by the corruption of Nurgle, the dark god whom Mortarion and his traitor legion serve. During his journey across the war-torn galaxy, Guilliman had witnessed the crumbling state of his father's empire. He knew that every available resource was needed to secure the future of mankind, even as he fought against the enemies of humanity. His strategic mind was already considering how the Imperium could recover from its losses. He recognized the critical role that rogue traders would play in that recovery. The rogue traders chosen by Guilliman were not called to fight as soldiers or to serve as bureaucrats, but to act as pioneers. Their battleground was not to be the war-torn front lines, but the uncharted, unexplored reaches of deep space. Their mission was to discover new worlds for conquest in the Emperor's name, places where humanity could take root and flourish. Although the birth of the Cicatrix Maledictum had severed much of the galaxy from reliable travel routes, it had also exposed previously unknown warp passages on the outskirts of Imperial space. These new routes held the potential for discovery, hope, and dangers so immense that many rogue traders might never return. At the symposium on Macragge, Guilliman offered the assembled rogue traders the opportunity to withdraw without dishonor, for he was asking them to undertake a perilous task. The opening of the Great Rift had obscured the Astronomican's light as never before, and the warp was now teeming with foul creatures lurking in every corner of space. Yet not a single rogue trader stepped back. Some were driven by pride, others by duty, and still others by a thirst for adventure. Regardless of their motives, they were all now bound to a path fraught with danger, promising either great triumph or ignominious ruin. Within days, the fleets of the rogue traders set out from the realm of Ultramar, venturing toward the uncharted territories beyond the eastern fringe and the distant spiral arm of the Ultima Segmentum. Many carried Ultramaran colonists in cryogenic hyperfreeze, ready to start new lives on untouched worlds. Out there, beyond the Imperium's fringes, lay the youngest stars in the galaxy, the most likely to have planets unspoiled by the taint of chaos, offering new hope for humanity's expansion. Each fleet charted a different course, guided by their navigators through the treacherous warp toward the unknown. Along the way, they would face countless challenges, and some would meet only violent and tragic ends. Yet this was the destiny of rogue traders, whose most valuable possession is their imperial warrant of trade, a venerable document that legally defines and legitimizes their rights and those of their descendants to act across the galaxy within the bounds of imperial law. These charters are hereditary, establishing entire rogue trader dynasties upon their issuance. These dynasties are granted their own personal coat of arms, marking them as part of the imperial nobility. With this authority, rogue traders are empowered by the High Lords of Terra to travel freely both within and beyond the Imperium's borders, making them unique figures in the galaxy, free from the constraints that bind so many others. This authority grants rogue traders the legal right to interact with cultures forbidden to ordinary imperial citizens, such as independent human worlds or Xenos-controlled planets. Moreover, they possess the freedom to deal with these civilizations as they see fit, so long as their actions ultimately serve the Imperium's interests. However, any rogue trader found guilty of heresy or treason faces swift and severe retribution from the Inquisition. Should they be proven to have betrayed the Emperor's immense trust placed in their lineage, the consequences would be even more dire. Rogue traders typically return to Imperial space every few Terran years, where they unload exotic goods, replenish their supplies, recruit new personnel, and prepare for their next expedition into the unknown reaches of the void. During these visits, it is not uncommon for them to clash with the Adeptus Terra or the Inquisition due to activities undertaken during their most recent ventures. While they wield considerable political, economic, and military power beyond the Imperium's borders, many rogue traders forget that within the Imperium they are subject to its laws and authority. Such attitudes often bring them into conflict with Imperial officials. Some rogue traders even challenge the Imperium's right to exert control over them. Having explored alien realms and engaged with foreign cultures, they are seen as vulnerable to various heresies, from deviant philosophies to alien contagions or possession by warp entities lurking between the stars. This perceived susceptibility often leads to violent confrontations, especially when the rogue trader possesses knowledge or artifacts coveted by influential figures within the imperial hierarchy. Though each rogue trader is unique, all share an exceptional ambition and drive that set them apart from the masses of humanity. They hail from diverse backgrounds, but the title they bear elevates, or perhaps curses them, with unparalleled freedom and responsibility. Many rogue traders come from the ranks of the Navis Imperialis or the Imperial Navy, a natural progression given their command of vast fleets of void ships. This responsibility is seldom delegated to another, and thus many rogue traders are seasoned captains and admirals, eager to confront the unknown and claim victory over unforeseen threats. Often seen as mavericks by their peers in the Navy, their methods frequently deviate from the doctrines of space warfare taught at segmentum fortresses. Those who embrace excessively radical strategies often meet untimely ends, though their exploits may live on in legend and rumor for centuries. Yet those with true talent, even if unorthodox in their tactics, may achieve great feats once free from the constraints of the conservative imperial military. Rogue traders with a naval background often maintain a network of contacts within the battle fleet they once served, as well as other sectors of the imperial machine. These connections, forged through camaraderie or shared service as officer cadets, can be called upon in times of need. These allies might offer vital supplies or official imperial support against pirates or alien adversaries. However, most rogue traders prefer to rely on their own skills, reserving favors for truly desperate circumstances. Many avoid using their connections with a newly promoted commodore, hoping instead to capitalize on that relationship when the individual attains the rank of High Admiral and can provide even greater resources. Those rogue traders from the Imperial Navy often retain symbols of their former rank, embellished with additional finery. A rogue trader might wear a formal coat akin to that of a High Admiral, complete with medals, gold-braided epaulets, and ornate piping. At the same time, they may adopt unconventional styles, perhaps braiding their hair like a feral world warrior or sporting facial tattoos reminiscent of a hive gang. Alongside a ceremonial Imperial Navy cutlass, they might carry a sword of alien design or other exotic weapons acquired from various strange cultures encountered on their journeys. The Astra Militarum, known more commonly as the Imperial Guard, is another significant source of rogue traders. Individuals who have risen to command vast and diverse Imperial Guard armies far beyond the confines of a single regiment may be granted a warrant of trade, allowing them to carry their crusades into uncharted regions of the galaxy beyond the reach of Imperial space. These rogue traders are not only masters of ground warfare, but also possess remarkable strategic acumen. Some excel in dual roles as both generals and admirals, while others prefer to delegate fleet command to trusted subordinates, concentrating instead on broader strategic goals. Rogue traders with backgrounds in the Astra Militarum often command substantial ground forces, deploying them with devastating effect in planetary invasions. Operating far beyond the Imperium's borders, they must carefully manage their finite resources to prevent depletion, as opportunities for resupply and recruitment are rare. When faced with heavy losses, a rogue trader may be forced to recruit from the worlds they conquer or colonize. In the case of rediscovered human societies that have been isolated for generations, they may establish feudal systems, compelling the local population to provide warriors for the traders' fleets, or they may demand service through more forceful means. Some rogue traders even enlist alien mercenaries or auxiliaries, a practice that imperial authorities strongly condemn. However, beyond the boundaries of imperial space, rogue traders wield vast autonomy and power. Who knows what strange forces might come to serve the Imperium's cause in the distant Halo zones? Militant rogue traders display a wide range of appearances. Many retain elements of their original regiment's uniforms, reflecting their homeworld's unique culture, rather than the standardized attire of the Imperial Navy. Some incorporate aspects of the Imperial General Staff's formal wear, such as long, elaborate coats or peaked caps. Those who lead from the front lines may blend ceremonial dress with carapace armor or modified power armor designed for human-sized wearers. Their arsenal is equally varied, including exotic sensor systems and force field generators typically reserved for the Inquisition or Officio Assassinorum. While a rogue trader with a naval background might carry ornate ceremonial weapons, those of Astra Militarum origin favor more practical and destructive tools. These weapons, often custom-made and intricately engraved or looted from defeated enemies, serve as both powerful tools of war and prestigious trophies. Within the labyrinthine bureaucracy of the Adeptus Administratum, certain adept officials may rise to significant personal power, controlling vast networks of divisions and departments across multiple planetary systems. These individuals are inevitably ruthless and shrewd, having clawed their way to the top of the Imperium's immense bureaucracy through any means necessary, crushing rivals and surviving assassination attempts to secure their positions. Many of these bureaucrats are tasked with quelling rebellious sectors or imposing imperial rule on newly rediscovered human colonies brought back into the Emperor's fold. They excel in the precise application of political and bureaucratic power, deftly using the military might of space marines or the subtleties of political intrigue to achieve their objectives. Given these talents, some are perfectly suited to the role of rogue trader. An imperial administrator leading a rogue trader fleet will be a politician first and a commander second, though the most successful combine both roles with ease, shifting between them as the situation demands. These individuals gather resources and appoint key leaders within their fleet, choosing subordinates they can trust, but also easily dispose of if challenged. Such administrators often foster rivalry among their underlings, encouraging them to seek favor and patronage while undermining their peers. Unlike their martial counterparts, these rogue traders rarely demonstrate personal combat prowess, preferring to wield power through more subtle means, akin to an assassin's dagger, rather than a soldier's sword. In terms of appearance, these Machiavellian figures tend to remain relatively understated. Some prefer the humble vestments of their former roles, such as the monkish robes of a scribe or adept, while others wear more elaborate garments, though often in dark, subdued tones that exude menace and caution. They rarely display overt weaponry, yet only a fool would underestimate their ability to defend themselves. These rogue traders often carry small but lethal weapons, such as digital lasers or concealed power blades, and they invariably possess personal force field generators to safeguard against both enemy assaults and betrayal from within their ranks. Across the Imperium, most cultures remain insular, with only a small fraction of any planet's population ever traveling beyond their star system. Despite this isolation, many imperial worlds rely heavily on interstellar trade to meet their needs. Advanced technologies and weapons often have to be imported from specialized worlds with the expertise and manufacturing capabilities to produce them. In turn, those industrial centers frequently depend on rare natural resources imported from other planets. Moreover, the aristocratic elites of many worlds have a particular fondness for exotic goods, often paying exorbitant prices to obtain luxury items from distant star systems. Be it clothing, food, jewelry, or art, these items are highly sought after by the nobility, eager to flaunt their wealth and influence, whether that influence is real or merely for show. Over millennia, an entire imperial class has emerged to cater to the demands of interplanetary commerce, thriving on the complex web of trade that sustains the Imperium. The merchant enterprises of the Imperium are vast and varied, ranging from small businesses and powerful cartels to immense galaxy-spanning corporations. Most focus their attention on a limited number of worlds or highly profitable warp trade routes, as the fragmented and feudal structure of the Imperium makes a stable, galaxy-wide economy nearly impossible to sustain. For many imperial merchants, the line between trade and warfare is often blurred. Defending their interests typically requires maintaining private armies or hiring mercenary forces. These trade wars are fought against competitors or any threats that jeopardize their profits, be they pirates or hostile alien species. It is no wonder, then, that the most successful merchant leaders are as skilled in warfare as they are in commerce, applying the same tactical brilliance in both fields. Such individuals are ideal candidates for the role of rogue trader. Merchants who ascend to this rank are typically the most shrewd and prosperous, excelling in both negotiation and battle. They draw their armies and fleets either from their extensive personal assets or through alliances and obligations with mercenaries and trading partners. Rogue traders with a mercantile background often present themselves as regal, adorned with lavish attire and precious jewelry that frequently conceals weapons, force fields, or advanced sensors. They surround themselves with a trusted circle of family retainers whose loyalty has been passed down through generations. Their ships resemble opulent spaceborne palaces, lavishly decorated, but this ostentatious image is a calculated facade. Many cultivate the persona of a foppish dilettante to mislead their enemies, using it as yet another weapon in their extensive arsenal. While most imperial commanders hold hereditary positions of power that pass only after their death, a rare few transcend this role to become rogue traders. This often occurs when a planetary governor is replaced or overthrown, but remains too valuable for the Adeptus Terra to cast aside entirely. For example, an imperial commander who loses their planet to an alien invasion may still retain assets such as their planetary defense forces and surviving defense fleets. In these instances, they may be granted rogue trader status, allowing them the opportunity to conquer new worlds in the name of the Imperium and for their own glory. These rogue traders are often driven by a powerful desire to reclaim what they have lost, commanding the unwavering loyalty of their displaced subjects. Their fleets are often a patchwork of surviving ships from their destroyed homeworld, supplemented by resources provided by the Imperium. The subjects who fight under these rogue traders do so with unparalleled fervor, fueled by a deep sense of loss and a thirst for retribution. Those who cannot fight become settlers, each assigned a vital role in the new society they hope to establish. These rogue traders often preserve the culture of their lost homeworld, with exaggerated versions of local fashion, dialects and customs carefully maintained to prevent the extinction of their people's way of life. In rare cases, even an inquisitor may be granted a warrant of trade and elevated to the rank of rogue trader. This usually occurs due to political machinations within the Inquisition, where an outmaneuvered inquisitor is presented with the warrant as a more favorable alternative to a far worse fate. Once granted the warrant, the inquisitor has no choice but to accept their new role. More often than not, it is members of the Ordo Xenos, those who specialize in hunting alien threats, who are transformed into rogue traders. Their experience makes them particularly suited to the task of venturing beyond imperial borders. Though they lose access to the vast resources of the Inquisition, they still retain considerable power and influence. The primary distinction between their old and new responsibilities lies in the scope of their operations. Where they once rooted out heresy and corruption within the Imperium, they now seek out these dangers among the stars, pursuing their new mandate with the same relentless zeal. It is not only fully ordained inquisitors who may become rogue traders. Their servants, agents and acolytes may also find themselves in this prestigious position. For lower-ranking inquisitorial agents, receiving a warrant of trade is considered a stroke of fortune, as the alternative outcomes for their past deeds are often far less desirable. It is essential to recognize that while rogue traders are masters of starships, their authority does not stem from a merchant charter, like those granted to Chartist captains of the imperial merchant fleets by the Administratum. Instead, their power is derived from a formal document known as a warrant of trade. This ancient letter of appointment elevates them to an esteemed rank within the Imperium, comparable in stature to Space Marine chapter masters, inquisitors, or planetary governors. Some of the oldest and most coveted warrants date back to the very founding of the Imperium, with a few even bearing the Emperor's personal signature. Others were endorsed by primarchs or prominent leaders of the Great Crusade. These charters are immensely valuable, conferring a high degree of autonomy to their holders. Each warrant of trade is unique, individually tailored and irrefutable, as its authority flows directly from the Emperor. According to imperial law and the doctrines of the imperial creed, no one has the right to overrule a rogue trader who possesses the divine sanction of the god emperor. At times, powerful lords within the Adeptus Terra may offer warrants of trade as a political tool, effectively removing troublesome rivals from imperial power struggles. By providing such individuals with the opportunity for wealth and adventure, they are sent off on distant ventures far from the political intrigues of the Imperium's heart. Similar to warrants of trade, but far more recent, are letters of marque, documents granted by the Imperium to lesser figures who also bear the title of rogue trader. However, these letters of marque come with more restrictions, tightly controlled by imperial authorities. These limitations might be geographical, confining the rogue trader to a specific sector, or otherwise imposing constraints. Unlike the hereditary warrants, letters of marque do not pass down automatically. Heirs must return to Terra and apply for a new charter through the administratum. Although a warrant of trade or a letter of marque grants extraordinary freedoms within the Imperium, they also carry obligations. Rogue traders may be tasked with addressing issues on troubled imperial worlds or conducting military operations that do not warrant the deployment of the Imperial Navy's full battle fleets. More commonly, however, rogue traders are charged with exploring the uncharted regions of the galaxy, venturing beyond the Imperium's borders to discover or settle new worlds that have yet to be illuminated by the light of the God Emperor. The warrant of trade is the primary legal instrument through which a rogue trader's elevated status and powers are bestowed. These prestigious documents are typically granted by the highest authorities, including the High Lords of Terra and, by extension, the Emperor himself. The bestowal of a warrant is an event of great significance, often marked by grand ceremonies and celebrations, as it represents the birth of a new noble lineage within the Imperium. Should the rogue trader succeed, they may conquer and rule vast regions of space, expanding the boundaries of humanity. Warrants of trade are granted for various reasons, including recognition of extraordinary service to the Imperium or for political purposes. These charters are hereditary, passed from one generation to the next, ensuring that new dynasties continue the work of expanding imperial control. While many rogue trader families eventually die out, new ones are continually created, ensuring a steady supply of explorers and conquerors to push the Imperium's boundaries. One of the most common reasons for issuing a warrant of trade is to honor individuals for their military service to the Imperium. In a galaxy consumed by war on countless fronts, Lord Generals and High Admirals lead imperial crusades to reclaim territories lost to rebellion or alien occupation. These leaders command vast armies and fleets, and over the course of decades-long crusades, they may conquer numerous worlds in the Emperor's name. In recognition of their victories, they are celebrated with parades, medals, and even planets named after them. However, such individuals rarely find contentment in retirement. Restless after a life spent in the theatre of war, they seek new outlets for their energy. The role of rogue trader offers an ideal opportunity, allowing them to continue serving the Imperium's expansionist goals. In some cases, the granting of a warrant of trade serves as a means of managing a potential threat. Throughout history, certain leaders of crusading forces have established themselves as rulers of the regions they conquered, sometimes maintaining only nominal loyalty to the Imperium. Others, emboldened by their unchallenged power, have outright rejected their imperial overlords, establishing independent realms. In such situations, the Imperium may be forced to launch another crusade to remove these renegade rulers. To prevent this, the Adeptus Terra often grants warrants of trade to these powerful leaders, giving them new territories to conquer and keeping them occupied. This strategy allows imperial administrators to consolidate control over the regions already conquered, while the rogue trader continues to expand the Imperium's reach. In this way, many warrants of trade have been issued to keep a Lord Militant engaged in the work of conquest, allowing them to exhaust their resources and, in turn, neutralize any potential political threat they might pose to the wider Imperium. To ascend to a position of significant power and influence within the labyrinthine bureaucracy of the Imperium, an individual must be both exceptionally driven and possess a forceful personality. Standing out among the billions within the Imperium's vast population requires relentless self-promotion and efficiency. Those who rise to such high offices may be noble and self-sacrificing, but more often they are ambitious and self-serving. For these individuals, many avenues exist to satisfy their ambitions, and for some, the warrant of trade represents the pinnacle of such aspirations. The reasons a high-ranking official might covet a warrant of trade are as varied as the complex personalities of those who pursue it. The methods by which they secure this coveted document depend on their circumstances and the opportunities they can manipulate. In many cases, it involves substantial bribes at the highest levels or calling in favors and debts accumulated over decades. Once granted the warrant, these individuals are quick to exploit it in pursuit of their ambitions. Some aim to establish small, autonomous empires in the stars beyond imperial jurisdiction, while others hope to lay the foundation for a mighty noble dynasty, even if they themselves won't live to see their descendants reap the rewards. It is often said that many rogue traders are driven by vanity, egotism, or worse, greed and megalomania. Some rise to prominence through legitimate means, while others scheme and murder their way to the top. Over the course of a lifetime, often extended beyond the natural span of human years through expensive genetic and chemical rejuvenation, a person of this stature will have made numerous enemies, earning the bitter resentment of their peers. Eventually, such an individual may find themselves on the cusp of achieving the pinnacle of their ambitions with only an appointment as a sector governor or even as a High Lord of Terror left to attain. At this critical juncture, their rivals may band together, pooling every last ounce of influence to remove their political adversary. But when an individual has amassed too much power to be easily ousted, they may find themselves presented with a warrant of trade, not as a reward, but as a convenient method of exile. Such an honor cannot be refused, and the newly appointed rogue trader is left with no choice but to graciously accept, as they are showered with praise for the great deeds they are expected to perform in service to the Imperium. For these rogue traders, the warrant of trade is a bitter reward, a clear victory for their political enemies. Yet despite the unwanted nature of their new role, many go on to achieve remarkable success, exploring the far reaches of the galaxy, conquering worlds, and amassing personal wealth far beyond what they might have gained through traditional political channels. Some of these individuals return decades later to exact revenge upon those who conspired against them, waiting until their former rivals have retired to some idyllic garden world before sending an assassin, or even a private army, to settle old scores. Of course, the powers and privileges granted by a warrant of trade come with certain responsibilities. Though a rogue trader fleet may represent a formidable military force, the warrant often comes with specific conditions. If issued without any conditions, it is a clear indication that the authorities simply wish to rid themselves of the recipient, hoping they meet their fate far from the Imperium's heart. The conditions attached to a warrant of trade are varied, but typically involve some form of military obligation or intervention. One of the most common conditions is the requirement to visit a particular world. This might be a planet that has been isolated for a long time, or one that has been neglected by the Imperium for a generation or more. Perhaps the planet's tithes have fallen short or been delayed, triggering the need for investigation. In cases where the world is remote, or when more pressing matters divert the Imperium's attention, it may not be practical to send a formal administratum delegation or an Imperial Navy squadron. Instead, the newly minted rogue trader is tasked with making a stop at the troubled world, fulfilling their duty while continuing on their broader mission into the unknown. It is highly likely that communication with the planet has been infrequent or completely absent, with only worrying and fragmented transmissions recorded. The rogue trader's mission will resemble a grand diplomatic visit, conducted with all the splendor and formality befitting an imperial noble. Resplendent in ceremonial uniforms and adorned with badges of office, the rogue trader and their retinue will make a grand display. Honor guards will be deployed, bands will perform, and flags will flutter in the air. This spectacle serves to remind the planet's leadership that the Imperium remains ever vigilant and has not forgotten its existence or the tithes it owes. The rogue trader is expected to attend state banquets and engage in high-level negotiations, essentially assuming the role of an ambassador of the Imperium. For many isolated planetary governors, this overwhelming display of imperial might and tradition, especially with a small fleet of warships in geostationary orbit above their capital, will be enough to ensure compliance. During such visits, the rogue trader will be treated like royalty, lavished with fine dining and extravagant hospitality, and reassured that any shortfalls in tithes were mere oversights. The planetary governor, eager to avoid imperial scrutiny, will implore the rogue trader to convey personal assurances to the administratum that all discrepancies will soon be rectified. However, not all planetary governors welcome the rogue trader's presence with open arms. Some may display resistance or reluctance to comply with imperial edicts. In such cases, the rogue trader is expected to enact punitive measures to encourage the recalcitrant world to cooperate with the Emperor's representatives. When diplomacy fails or a planet outright defies imperial authority, the rogue trader must resort to force. Newly appointed rogue traders, often hesitant to deplete their resources on initial conflicts, generally opt for a decisive and overwhelming show of power. An orbital lance strike against critical infrastructure is usually sufficient to demonstrate the rogue trader's resolve, crippling the planetary governor's ability to maintain control. Alternatively, a targeted strike on a location of personal significance to the governor, such as a lavish palace or a favoured hunting retreat, can swiftly bring about compliance. Should this initial show of force fail to achieve the desired result, a longer campaign may be necessary. Although rogue traders generally avoid protracted engagements, there are times when such measures cannot be avoided. If the rogue trader's mandate includes the removal of the planetary governor, many will act without hesitation. Such swift action often brings a speedy resolution, allowing a more compliant replacement to be installed in accordance with the planet's political structure. Another common responsibility associated with a warrant of trade is the settlement of new worlds in the name of the God Emperor. The Adeptus Mechanicus's explorator fleets constantly survey the galaxy, cataloguing stellar phenomena and celestial bodies. When a habitable world is discovered, the findings are sent to the administratum, accompanied by data from the explorator's preliminary investigations. If the tech priests find no valuable resources or exploitable life forms, the planet's details are often filed away for future consideration. However, due to the vastness of the Imperium's bureaucracy, it may take decades or even centuries before the report reaches the appropriate clerk, responsible for dispatching settlement missions to claim the world for humanity. During this delay, countless unforeseen events may transpire. Galactic conflicts may render the planet uninhabitable, or alien species might seize it for their own use. It is not uncommon for a rogue trader to arrive at a designated settlement world only to find it uninhabitable or inaccurately classified. In such cases, the rogue trader may be left with a colony ship and thousands of settlers in tow. A particularly ruthless individual might insist the colonists carry out their mission regardless, landing prefabricated colony structures wherever possible. Colonies established under such conditions rarely survive more than a standard year, though a rare few may manage to endure, isolated and forgotten in the dark fringes beyond imperial space.